right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hope Shot Live Sunday Night Topics. Tonight, we are going to have Kelly grace us with the clarity statement.
Yes. Before we do that, make sure you share this feed and leave comments for us. We will respond to them and try to get to them before the end of the segment. All right. The Hope Shot Clarity Statement. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. Thank you for being a part of our family.
And thank you, Kelly. So, tonight's topic is going to be finding your worth. And I'm sure Justin, the Puppet Master, will have that scrolling across the bottom of the screen soon. So everybody
Thanks, Caesar.
This topic. Yep, look at that.
Yay!
Yay!
Very, very impressive.
Yes.
We think about these topics throughout the week, and I felt like this was something that I would like to hear the guys talk about and the gals talk about, because there's a gal next to me.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go first since I came up with the topic, and then I'll pass it off. So when I first came into recovery, I felt literally worthless. I felt undeserving of any type of recovery, any type of anything. And, it took somebody to walk me on this path, someone that cared about me more than I cared about myself. And I came in with this baggage full of just guilt and shame from my actions, from incarceration, from letting people down. And I had zero self-worth. And going through the process that I went through, all that guilt and shame and all that baggage has turned around and become the biggest asset that I have to sit down with another alcoholic, another addict, another person, and let them know that there is hope.
Your mess became your message.
My mess became my message.
Sorry.
My wife has coined the phrase.
Yeah.
But it to me, it's just absolutely amazing how something that is my biggest hindrance becomes my biggest asset. Everything that I was ashamed of, I share freely with people now. I share freely on this show, stuff I would have never talked about. And I keep moving through this process, and I found my worth. My worth is my story is unique, and I'm uniquely suited to be able to help somebody that has gone through the same crap that I went through. And I'm able to show them a path for them to get out of it. And that's beautiful. I don't know any other thing that's more beautiful than somebody taking their darkest path and it becomes a shining, just beacon of hope for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And it all grows from there. Self-worth, self-esteem, by doing the next right thing and continuing on this path, we start to feel good about ourselves. And I actually feel like I have something to offer today. And never once in probably 30 years of active addiction did I feel like I had anything to offer but suffering or some kind of harm or drama in somebody's life. It's I don't know, it's a topic that's near and dear to me because I don't know any other thing that can do the turnaround that this recovery process has done for me. And believe me, I've tried on my own. I've tried every way to juke and jive around actually working on myself. But when I worked on myself and dug deep and looked inside and made some changes and followed it up with some more action and stopped thinking so much about myself and started helping other people because I had something to offer, that change has become a permanent change. And the growth is continual. So I don't know, man. I really want to hear what some other people have to say about this, but I know it's a hindrance for a lot of people because they feel unworthy, unloved, unsavable. And it's just not the case, man. You get to the bottom that I got to that anybody gets to, and there's nowhere to go but to reach out for help. And I don't get to dictate the terms of what that help looks like. You know, when you're finally hopeless and, oh, hold on, doggo. Doggo, move, doggo. You know, when I was finally hopeless enough and I was out of ideas, I was willing to listen to somebody else. And I didn't dictate what the help was going to look like. I just took the suggestions, did what I was told for once in my life, and did the work. And now I get to experience the freedom that came from that work. You know, to have a God in my life, a higher power in my life that I can rely on day in and day out, that's a gift of following this process, not the Caesar process of recovery, but the one that was shown to me by somebody else, that was their solution. I am going to mute myself here. Sorry. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Justin. I would love to hear from you, buddy.
That was unexpected.
It wasn't for me. I saw them about to go at it.
Hey, he wanted to speak, man. He's like, I know my worth.
He's selfish and self-centered, and he wasn't the star of the show tonight.
Right?
Constant struggle over here, man.
Hey, Caesar, you want to do something real quick?
Sure.
Do you have the comments where you can read them off, or do you want me to do it, or just say, hey, what's up to some people?
I can read some if you open them up.
Yeah.
I saw Kelsey commented. Go ahead and.
It's going to take me a second. How about if I go over them after your share?
That's fine. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Good evening. This beautiful Sunday night, man. Finding your worth, man. That's a hefty one, you know. My whole life, I think I've battled with this, and I still do today, with knowing my worth. And when I think of worth, I think of value, you know, the value of me as a person. How do I value myself? I'm a freaking people pleaser. So like, and sometimes that is to a fault, to where like, I don't value or respect my own wishes or my own beliefs to try to please people. And that's a bad thing. That's a bad place to be at. You know, my whole life, I've always told that I'm not good enough, and like always made fun of, and like my self-worth was in the trash when I was real young, you know, believing all the lies that people have told me along the way. And I still battle it today. You know, I have it's a work in progress. And, you know, like even like, listen, this whole Hope Shot thing was made on something that like the person that I was. And because like 2011 was the last time I got arrested. And at that time I was 130 pounds soaking wet, skin and bones pretty much, you know? So that jail picture is like something I'm ashamed of. I hated that dude, the person I was. Instead of embracing who I was, because everything led me up to who I am today, the life I have, everything that I hold dear to my heart right now is because of all the problems I've been through, the shit I put myself through. And, you know, I didn't embrace that before. So last year, you know, somebody put my jail photo out there trying to tarnish my name. And I talk about this a lot because it's true. That shame and guilt came up so bad. Like, and at least I'm better than what I was before, because before it would have tarnished me, you know, early on, it would have tarnished me because, you know, the shame and guilt from that guy, what I've put myself through, what I've done to myself, not doing anything about the self-worth that I need to work on. What
was my advice to you? To see if you remember.
Ooh, put him on the spot.
Yeah, I know. What the hell? You can't just jump on. Where's those dogs at?
You're locked up now.
My advice to you was to post them out there so nobody can use them against you. So you hold the power.
Yep.
Exactly. So that's why, like, grabbing a hold of it and taking your own power back from somebody that's trying to use it against you, you know? And that's how the Hope Shot started. And, you know, I'm grateful for those, that person doing that, because it's actually worked on it. I actually put my own mess out there instead of somebody else doing it for me, and like embraced it a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying like, I totally embrace everything, because like sometimes it's really hard. It took a minute. It was a big resentment at first, but you got to embrace yourself, the old you, and then work on those things that hold weight, the shit that holds weight, I still battle with it, man. Like I used to hate everything about myself, my voice, my ears, because these motherfuckers can fly away one windstorm, dude. I'm done. You know what I mean? And like, I hated that stuff about myself. I used to hate like all kinds of things, and I'm always putting myself down. I was my own worst critic. I was my own worst enemy. Like, I don't give a crap what anybody used to tell me back in the day. Like, I was my own enemy. Like, I would put myself down more than anybody in this fucking world. And I don't do that as much anymore, but some days are better than others. You know what I mean? Like, I have to love every part of myself in order to have that self-worth. You know what I mean? It's not like, I was joking before, let me go check my bank account and just see, yeah, I ain't got none. You know what I mean? Like, it's like no materialistic thing, no feel good, no nothing can ever put the self-worth in you. It's a work in progress. It's something you have to do every single day. Look yourself in the mirror and say, I fucking love you. You know what I mean? And that's even hard sometimes too. I feel stupid as hell, looking at myself in the damn mirror, telling myself I love you. You know what I mean? Or I'm proud of you, or I'm, just all these positive things, keeping the positivity and feeding it to yourself. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to do it for yourself before you expect anybody else to do it for you, because that's what you attract. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. I feel like I attract the bullshit that I feed myself, the negative thoughts, all that shit. People can pick up on that shit too, man. Like, being able to look at somebody in the eye, bro. That was something what happened? Dang it, Nate.
Nate just went away for a second. It's fine.
There he goes. Okay, he's back. Sorry. Nate. Thanks, Nate. Freak me out.
Sorry.
No, coming at me. As soon as that happened, like I when I got clean, I threw myself in like all these little like speaker things, and I hate speaking in front of people. But as soon as I noticed myself being able to look at somebody in the eye without so much shame and guilt, like looking away, you know what I mean? Like I used to do that all the time. Like I wasn't good enough to be shaking your hand or me being with these people. Like, I always put myself out, and I hated that. And as soon as I like had that, like a spiritual awakening, as they call it. And that was for me, I call it that, because it was like, I can look at somebody in the eye and be okay, know who I am, know what I'm about, and, carry myself with integrity and honesty and just all those things that come along with recovery, which is a beautiful thing. So, it's a work in progress, but it gets better day by day. And the more I work on myself, the better it gets, so, and that's why I don't, they say using as an option. It's not for me, because I have not even reached my full potential yet. And I haven't reached the person that I need to be in order to love myself that much more. So, that's all I got.
Justin, you said something really important, I think, too. It's a continual work in progress. We find our worth, but you have to keep working towards it day in and day out, because it can go away, just as fast when you're not doing the work. And nothing can fill that. Like, I think we're taught by society to reach certain goals or to keep moving and to keep working. And, certain things define that worth, and nothing can fill that other than, for me, it's God. God fills that, and I find my worth through him. But I just thought that was important, that we find it, but it doesn't just stay there if we're not continually working on ourselves.
Before you go,
and it can get sidetracked by all the things we get back in our lives. And that's, hey, listen, I'm guilty as to a fault. Like, anything new that comes in my life, I could be like, I'm good, man. I think I reached my peak. You know what I mean?
In some cases, like I'm teaching my daughter now to have positive, self-worth and self-esteem. And I didn't have that growing up. And then when you need to work on that as an adult, it's like you have to undo all the thinking that made you who you are. And it's harder. It's hard.
Yeah, I've got guys that I work with, and one of the biggest things I say is that happiness is an internal thing. I know some of you can relate to this. A bigger TV, a better job, a nicer house, those are all very short-lived feelings, fleeting. My happiness is internal. And when I'm right, when I'm right with my program, I'm right with my higher power, I am happy. I have true inner happiness. When I'm not right, when I'm not doing what I need to do, that's when I'm grasping for the external things. I'm looking for something to make me happy because I'm not doing any work on myself. So let's get into some comments. You want to do this?
Yeah, sure. All right. I'm going to go all the way up. We have Angel who says, hey, y'all, worth the time. We have April who said, I'm new but loved last week's. Thanks for being here, April. Helen is here. Kristen says, good evening. Veronica says, hey, everyone. I'm so grateful to have another day. Thank you for opening this meeting. Kelsey, thank God we can carry that depth and weight today that someone new can grasp on and not feel so alone in the world anymore. I love that. Kristen, that my sponsor keeps telling me I've never been happier than the past few weeks, which is hard to say because I have experienced the great loss, but for the first time ever, I didn't use. Congratulations, yes, Kristen. Awesome. That's amazing. Helen is Kristen's mom, and she says, so proud of you. That has to be an amazing feeling for Helen. Kimber says, we do recover. And Veronica, I'm on my 3rd try at sobriety, and tomorrow I celebrate 9 months.
Yeah. That is awesome. So,
hold on. Valerie, this month for me is 2 years clean. I don't want to miss that one either. We have some more, and we'll get to them.
All right. Let's hear from Mom's favorite.
I got you.
There we go. Yeah, I like to wear lies on my shirt because it helps with my self-worth, whether it's true or not. I like to believe it's true. I always believed it was true. So you guys hit on a lot of really key subjects there. A lot of this really started for me with taking responsibility for my life, right? When I'm living my life as a victim to everybody and everything, it's just it's like standing in the ocean, not knowing how to swim and just getting knocked over wave after wave. You know what I mean? And I use that reference for you, Nate. But honestly, I've lived my entire life being dependent on what other people think of me. My entire life. That's where all my self-worth came from. I lived, its entirety based on other people's opinions of me being more important than mine were. Right. Which is kind of the idea of not really having, self-worth. So when I came in, a little over 10 years ago, I did what a lot of people do. And I don't feel good about myself. So let me go try to date in early recovery, and that'll make me feel better, and that was an awesome plan till it wasn't. I kind of walked through this thing, and I think a lot of people do, where I'm looking for that affirmation from somebody else to feel better about myself, right? I walk around, I don't love myself. I have no idea who I am at all. And I'm doing a lot of self-defeating behaviors, but I expect somebody else to love me. And it makes no sense at all. I can't expect someone to love me when I don't love myself and I have no idea who I am. Right. So it's you know, coming in, it's pretty much like being reborn and learning who you are and learning boundaries. Boundaries are huge for my self-worth, man. Sometimes you have to experience a lot of bad to know what good looks like, right? So I don't regret it. I don't regret the mistakes I made, you know. Um, you know, for me, and you know, going back to relationships, man, I had to really, those were some of my best teachers, because I became everything that I didn't want to be in some of them. You know what I mean? And I allowed it, right? At the time, it was the other person's fault, but I was the one allowing people to treat me differently than what was acceptable to me. You know what I mean? Going through that stuff, doing a lot of work on myself, you know, counseling, a lot of reading. You know, I eventually I started to realize that, um, you know, along with meditation, some of the other things that we learn, you know, to be okay sitting in a room by myself, which was a big deal. I start to learn that stuff, and all of a sudden, I don't need people. I want them, and there's a huge fucking difference, right? So I over time I kind of learned to, you know, and to this day, I'm I'm okay if I'm alone. You know, I've been alone and I've been happy, right? What that tells me is I don't need everybody else's opinions and self-support for me to feel good about myself, right? It doesn't mean I don't look in the mirror. It doesn't mean I'm not the first one to check myself if I'm out of line. You know what I mean? But I do not let your opinion run my life and decide how I feel anymore. You know, and that was a huge part of it for me. Caesar hit on it. Um, when I started being able to help people, you know, and actually be effective with it. I always wanted to help people. I just had no fucking clue what I was doing, right? And you know, eventually, some would say I probably still don't, but it's better than it used to be. You know, but I started to have this feeling in the mornings that I never had before, um, and that feeling was purpose, right? It was being useful, which I've never felt in my entire life, ever, right? So when I'm waking up every morning and I'm feeling that way, I know that I am waking up to bring something to the table, you know. And if I can overcome the negative self-talk that goes into my head, which is 24/7, starts the minute I wake up when my alarm goes off. I don't feel like getting up today. I don't feel like working. I don't feel like answering this phone because this guy's going to bitch about the same thing he always bitches about. I don't feel like. And all day long, this negative self-talk's coming, you know, and I just have to learn to overcome that, because I know when I force myself through it and do things that are uncomfortable to me, my life improves. When my life improves, I feel better about myself, you know. And when I'm overcoming the negative self-talk, I get to hit like the four pillars, you know what I mean? The physical, spiritual, mental, emotional, you know. And when those things are all clicking, man, I feel really good about myself. And that's when, for the first time in my life, I started to feel real confidence, you know. And I struggled with the difference with confidence and ego for a real long time. You know, I can still jump into ego really quick, but when I'm confident, your opinion does not matter that much to me. It doesn't dictate my actions. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, that's been one of the best things that's happened to me in my sobriety. You know, I just had to get over the long history of, you know, my traumatic experiences, the things that really shifted my brain into wanting to use in the first place, you know, and understanding that the present doesn't equal the past. It doesn't have to. I get to choose that. You know what I mean? I get to choose what I disregard, and you know, and you know, some people need a lot more clinical work, and I don't want to go clinical on everybody, but you know, some people need to do that stuff too as well, to work through a lot of these demons. You know what I mean? um you know, people would tell me, like, I didn't understand that. um you know, they would say you can restart your day anytime, and that shit always pissed me off because I didn't know how to do that, right? And the truth of the matter is I can restart my life anytime I want. I really can. I just have to do certain things. I have to do things that are uncomfortable. I have to do things that I don't want to do, and my life kicks ass. And it's really that simple for me. You know what I mean? But I can slip back into it really, really quick. You know, so honestly, man, it's been for me, there's a lot. It's the 4 pillars. It's making sure I'm hitting those on a daily basis. It's writing things down. I have to write things down, or my negative self-talk will put me back into a bad place, right? I have to know, what my step work looks like tangibly. I have to know, what I'm doing to hit the 4 pillars that I need to hit. And when I'm hitting those 4 pillars, man, everyone around me benefits. Everybody, my family, my wife and my kids in particular, they'll tell me really quick if something's off. You know what I mean? And I need to go do something about it, right? If I'm getting overly irritable, right, I'm usually angry with myself about something, or I'm trying to control something I have no business controlling. It's usually one of those things, So I'm gonna stop rambling. I haven't slept in a while, so I'm sorry if I went off kilter a little bit.
No, you sounded great. You said a couple of really great things. We're over here saying, "Ooh, start your life over at any time." I mean, it's a simple notion, but I don't know. It's a good one.
I like a lot of the things you said. A big part of me finding self-worth was overcoming those self-centered fears, fear of other people's opinion of me, real or fancy, whatever I'm making up in my head that you think of me today, because I can read minds when I'm sick. Those things came after I worked on myself. I was never going to stop being a chameleon if I didn't do the inside work. My entire life, I was trying to be what I thought the people around me wanted me to be. So if I was with this group, I was into that. Whatever it was, whatever they were into, that's what I was into. And I wore a mask every single day. When it got worse and worse, I wanted to pretend that I wasn't a hopeless addict. So I put that mask on and tried to look responsible. I wasn't fooling anybody but myself and keeping myself down longer and longer.
Gucci on the outside.
That's yes. That was
Sorry.
it. Gucci on the outside, Kmart on the inside. That was my motto for a very long time. And you know what? That kept me sick too, because as long as the outside would pass as normal and healthy, I was never going to work on the inside. So I'm glad you shared the things you did. I mean, that's why I like this format. People say things and it sparks something in my brain. Maybe something I say sparks something in his brain. I don't know if y'all know who I'm pointing at because the screen is different on your end, but
it works good with a conversation like this. Yeah. Angel said something, if you read that real quick, about working on yourself first. And, I have people ask me a lot, like what I do for work too is somewhat in the field. And I deal with a lot of people in early recovery who they're focusing on things, or they're focusing on going out and finding a partner, right? Like working on yourself first. It doesn't, my big thing is it doesn't take a half a person and a half a person to come together to make a whole person. You have to do that work on yourself first and be comfortable with yourself. It's 2 whole people coming together. I think that's a big one too. We can look for anything to try to complete that part of us, whether it's work. It was work for me for a while. Like I'm very guilty of that. I would work to find my worth. For some people it's relationships or whatever you're looking for. You have to do that work on yourself first. That was a really good point that Angel said.
Hey, have you ever seen? They used to have this a video Will Smith put up about how does
I know.
Yes, and it's like 2 people have to find their own happiness.
Yep.
They can't go to the other one with an empty cup, begging them to fill up their cup. Everybody has to go out. Individual people find their happiness and present it back to the relationship in order for it to be
any relationship. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. And the beauty of it is when we find ourselves and we are that person and we start putting out into the world our whole true selves, then and only then do we connect with the people we're supposed to connect with.
Our true, authentically awkward selves.
Awkwardly authentic, authentically awkward. Yes.
That was one of the main things I left out, man, is really becoming friends with your insecurities, man. Owning that shit.
Oof.
You know what I mean? I put that shit on Broad Street. Kind of like Caesar was telling Justin to do with the 8 Mile approach. Same kind of idea, man. I became friends with my insecurities, right? You know what I mean? Like there was a slight moment there where I was kind of like, oh man, like my hairline's kind of running away, right? but check this out. Like I watched, people struggle with this stuff, and I watched them do all these things to hide the insecurity. And I'm like, dude, when it's my time, like, fuck that. Like, it's coming off. And I've never been happier in my life. And I've worked with a lot of guys that are losing hair, and they're kind of going there. And I'm like, why, dude? It's the best thing ever, and it's just probably a cheesy example of owning an insecurity, man. But I don't know. My life changed big time.
What do you tell Johnny? What's the thing?
I tell Johnny all kinds of stuff. You gotta be way more specific.
OIC?
Oh, the original Insecure Gangster.
OIG. That's it.
That's where that voice he does came from. True story.
So that's everybody's jumping on. Yeah, the 8 Mile approach. Everyone's loving the 8 Mile approach.
That's the first thing that came to my head when you were telling that.
I love that, the 8 Mile approach. Kelsey said, I call it 8 miling myself too.
Tell these people something they don't know about me.
Well, Nate shared before about, his sponsor telling him, you've got literally nothing to offer this person. When you were talking about relationships and early recovery, and that was the same thing I was told was, what do you have to offer? Misery? Like what
codependency?
What are you bringing to the table? I was like, I don't know. I got like $8 and a pair of shoes that I got from the rehab. What are you talking about? I'm doing great.
Angel said quickly, Angel, you're dropping some nuggets of wisdom tonight. To go from codependent to interdependent takes time, work, and mutual respect. I like that.
Beautiful. Let's hear from Nate Stradamus.
Nate Stradamus, the Buddha.
Stop it.
Nate, no.
Listen, Nate, I get a lot of good things from when you share.
Hey, well, you guys, Caesar, Mike was my sponsor, and he's the one that told me. Because
is that who? Well, it makes sense,
Yeah, thankfully, I had these people in my life early on because, I was ready to make up for some lost time, and they're like, dude.
Not ready, Nate. You did make up for some lost time.
Yeah, but I reined it in pretty well because of some good peer support, So knowing your worth, man. Great subject. What I was thinking about, I'd have to go back. So listen, for me, how can I possibly know my worth when I don't even know who I am? And Mike nailed it when he was talking about taking responsibility. But, I'll go a step further. Like, I have to really, through this process, through working with another, discover my part in all of my chaos. I have to finally take responsibility for everything I've gone through because, 99% of the time it was my doing. Everything I experienced, sure, life happened, but man, I was not putting myself in the best possible position for positive outcomes, put it that way. And like I say this all the time, like, how could I possibly experience self-worth when I was consumed with darkness? I had no room for any light to enter. I was so burdened by guilt, shame, regret, remorse, insecurities, self-pity, self-loathing. Like these were my pals, man. This is what kept me going. It's like kind of ironic because it was those things that I wanted to quiet from the substance. I just wanted that stuff to go away. In doing so, I just added fuel to the fire, so to speak. So here I am, like 2+ decades of severe drug abuse, lots of incarceration, these traumas, that I'm experiencing. And so I come into this deal and I'm like, I'm a mess, I have no idea where I fit into this world, this universe, my community. My whole existence is based off like fantasy and lies. I have no idea, let me not say that. I have some semblances of honesty and integrity and character, but they're so convoluted by all this other negative emotions that I experience on a daily basis that I haven't processed, that I haven't even entertained. I don't even know that all these things are like all fear based. I don't know that all these things are, lack of self worth. I just know that I don't want to keep putting a needle in my arm and ending up in prison. That's all I know. That's what I need to stop. I have no concept of like, connecting to a higher power. I have no concept of fellowship. I just want to stop these feelings. I just don't want to feel so beaten and broken and depressed and sad anymore. And I just have no idea how to get from A to B. So, the universe intervenes. There's a small window that I didn't really jump through. I was put in handcuffs and escorted through, and with that bit of state motivation, I made some serious decisions, and I finally surrendered. And and then, but the huge turning point for me was when I, asked somebody to help me figure out who the hell I am. I asked someone to, man, take me through this process. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'll tell you, man, when Mike and Johnny and those guys, when they told me, bro, you have nothing to offer, this fucking drove me crazy, because this, now you're piquing my deepest insecurities. I'm like, well, yeah, I have plenty to, I'm a good person, but I don't even know what that means at this point. You know what I mean? I have ideas, of what a good person is. And I may have flirted with character and integrity and honesty at moments, but it was all self-serving. It was all for some outcome. It was to get something. It was so I could feel something different. It was so I could, get some money, get some sex, get what I wanted when I wanted it, that type of deal. And until I get really brutally honest with myself and another, and start writing some of this stuff down, and like Mike had pointed out, was start taking responsibility. I don't really know what feeling worthy is. Now, once I do go through this process, some things start to shift, and I start to see, that I wasn't a victim, that I was, kind of pretty much responsible for all of this stuff. And so for finally, and most importantly, for a guy like me, something that haunted me perpetually and consumed me with fear on a daily basis, which was my past actions and what I did to people I truly loved, including myself, I could finally see these for what they were, a greater purpose. All this stuff that I felt that I could never forgive myself for, that I could never shut the door on or walk away from, that I had acquiesced to this life of just debauchery and decadence and addiction. This is what I decided it was going to be, because how could I ever live down the things I did? Now, going through this process and doing some work, I finally understand that these things have purpose. All this shit, all this pain, all this loss, all this suffering that I self-inflicted for the most part, all serve some greater purpose. Finally, I can let this shit go, man. And finally, all that darkness starts to dissipate. Now I can receive some light. Now I can truly connect to some source, and I can start to take direction. And now I could finally start like feel good about who I am, what I'm doing. And man, Mike, you said some good shit. That's why I fuck with you, bro. Because listen, man, to be able to have a purpose, to be able to show up in somebody's life that is just like me, and I can see it now because I'm on the other side of this deal, and offer them some insight, and offer them some direction. And it's not like we're not pulling this shit out of a textbook, man. This is just stuff that we experience, and someone showed us a way out, so now we're just showing these other people a way out. But to see that manifest and see that that light come in another person's eyes, and to see them get this deal, and then not only that, but then to be a part of something, to be a part of a fellowship, to be a part of a community, to contribute something to this universe other than chaos and disruption, and lies, and to bring to the table, and all these things that I thought that were important to offer to another individual, or to society or the universe as a whole, which was me having a job, me having a car, me having some money, me having a nice pair of shoes on, all these things. This is what I thought was important. This is why I thought, okay, once I get these things, then I can be in someone will want me now. You know what I mean? And it's the exact opposite. All that truly matters is who I am inside, and the person I'm becoming, the honesty that I'm willing to exhibit on a daily basis. And spoiler alert, it was funny. I was having breakfast with Johnny and Lisa this morning, and I was like, man, I was talking to some girl. It was a story I was telling, and they're like, well, what'd you do? I'm like, I did nothing. I have no game. I'm awkward. I'm socially, I can talk fine. I can communicate, but I am okay with who I am today. So I am bringing, Nathan to the table. I'm awkward. I'm a little socially, let me not use a politically incorrect term. I stumble and fumble, like I'm like new skin. I'm discovering who I am on a daily basis. But guess what? All those idiosyncrasies, all those eccentricities and insecurities and awkwardness, they're my some of my greatest assets. I love who I am today. Does that mean that I stopped working on myself? Negative. My journey is, and I don't know if I'm saying this at 3.5 years. I might be saying it at 13 years, God willing. But my journey is beginning on a daily basis. Like, I am on a discovery of self on a daily basis. Like, I am trying to peel back layers. I'm trying to unravel 20 plus years of trauma. And this stuff gets peaked by the most inane and indirect instances, like I can be, brought back to a certain period of my life with this passing comment, with someone maybe gossiping, with maybe, maybe I see a bus or a bluebird, and I'm thinking, oh shit, like all these things. I experienced some serious trauma, and so most importantly for me today is to give myself a break. I am going to slide back into those insecurities. I'm going to always slide back into those fears. But the difference today is, not only do I have a constant ongoing dialogue with my source, which I pray to and meditate to on a daily basis, not just one time on my way to work in the car, in the morning, at night, during the day. I'm talking, I'm seeing, I'm recognizing. And then, but also this connection to a fellowship of friends and confidants that just, man, they just want to see me be okay. They accept me in all my weirdness, with open arms. They embrace it. They encourage me to stay weird, which I love. And it's just such a gift. My biggest obstacle probably for so many years is I didn't think I was worth recovery. I didn't think I was worthy of happiness. I didn't think I was worthy of love. I didn't think I was worthy of hope, faith. These things were so foreign and fantastical to me. It could have been a Lord of the Rings movie. It was so far-fetched from my reality. I had no idea that I was worthy of all these gifts and blessings, and now once I get here and start to experience some of them, now I have to learn how to keep believing I'm worthy, because all these dreams and promises that I've been afforded are exceeding what I even imagined, So now I have to keep evolving, and I have to keep digging and learning how to live with some of these gifts and blessings, and just keep showing up, and know that regardless of my past, regardless of what may happen in the future, that today I am worthy of recovery. I am worthy of love. I'm worthy of friendship. And sometimes I'm not going to, show up the best I can, but I have to give myself a break and realize that I'm just growing up in public here, I'm so grateful for all these people in this forum, and so many more that just keep showing up in my life, and to be a part of that is just, I don't know. I know, you hear it a lot, and I say it a lot too, but you'll hear people say, I don't have another run left in me. Well, guess what? I know I do. I got plenty of runs left in me. That's a given. What's not a given is to me to keep getting these blessings and gifts unless I put in the work, man. People will be like, man, hey, you're doing so, like, what happened? I worked my fucking ass off. I did some brutal, grueling see where I was responsible and how I can change it, and then how I can in effect help share that gift with others. I'm gonna stop now.
I didn't think Nate was ever listening to me. That's impressive.
Mike, man, listen. Okay, now that Mike's on here, okay. The Mike was my first sponsor. He got me green as hell right out in treatment still, And it's funny because these are the people that I started my recovery journey around, and that gift right there is just, I mean, there's no price you could put on this, because here are a bunch of guys that were just like me, and now they weren't. And how attractive is that to know these guys were in the gutter just like I was, mind, body, and spirit, and now they're living these lives, man, and they're doing worthy things, and that shit was so attractive to me. And yeah, I listened, I internalized every nugget, not even in a professional or a sponsee setting, just how Johnny, how Mike, how the Kevins, how the Steves, like all these guys operated on a daily basis, away from the program. They were the same people, and they had this character and honesty and integrity and a sense of humor. They knew they were still messes, and I could wrap my head around that, man. These guys, they weren't some, burning bush or dude on a mountaintop chanting. You know, these were just regular everyday guys, man, that got this gift and wanted to share it with a deviant like me.
Yeah, you said something that just made me think about how you could hear something or see something and it brings all of it back in a heartbeat. And I think, Mike, you touched on it too, that for me, I will say for me, it took more than just a 12-step recovery program. I had to do the clinical route too, because some of that muscle memory from the trauma that I did endure, like, and it is different in some sense for women, because I put myself in situations, not that anything that, you know, that it was all my fault, but I put myself in situations where I had a lot of sexual trauma too. And it's a real thing when we, you know, live the kind of life that we lived, and something can happen and it's like, yeah, you know, like somebody could just touch me the wrong way and boom, like I'll haul back and my self-defense mechanisms will just kick in, you know, and it's something that we deal with till today. I mean, we might not ever get rid of those completely, but working on it every single day. And again, it takes sometimes more than just a recovery program. It took a lot of clinical work for me too. It still does to this day.
When I'm driving around the places that I used to use, like those memories will come up and that same stuff, you know, like, and it happens a lot because I mean, this is where I freaking use that. So like it happens more than not. And the same feelings will come back and it's just like, oh, it just only makes you cringe. You know?
Just talking about it made me cringe, you know, I'm like, ooh, I don't even like thinking about it, but it's a part of me and it made me who I am. And man, sometimes it's rough. An everyday thing can bring it back. And if you don't pop right back up and do the work that you're doing on yourself, I mean, that stuff can haunt you.
Yeah, I think if you're not, then, which is why it's so vital to keep doing the work on a daily basis, regardless of what state you're in.
Yeah.
You know, so you can be prepared for those moments, man, because those moments, I mean, for me personally, I know those moments are going to be in front of me, you know, and what am I doing today to prepare for something happening, you know, the death of a loved one, you know, getting into a situation that's going to make me, you know, be in a, you know, confrontation or something like that, you know. Yeah, I feel like it's super important to, you know, I'm just the advice Mike always used to tell me is like, you know, I still act like I'm in early recovery. You know, I apply the same principles that I did when I first got here, and they still work. You know, and I'll never forget that stuff.
I say the same thing, man, because the things that got me sober will keep me sober. You know, I mean, like there's principles at the very beginning that have never changed in my life that I have to keep practicing every single day to maintain this way of life. You know, Justin, what you were just talking about, I think at like 2 or 3 years sober, I had to use the bathroom at a gas station in Tampa that I overdosed in more than once. That was the closest place I had to go to the bathroom. I went in there and I faced it and I said, man, the difference is I was disgusted by it. Yeah. But I walked out of it and the guy behind the counter didn't go, oh, you left burn marks on the toilet. You know, like all the things that I did before. It was a win when I walked away and I got in my car and I drove off.
Thank God.
And these little things that, you know, Leslie said, it's hard to find our own worth. I'm still looking, but I'm proud of my progress. Even the smallest progress is a step in the right direction. Never doubt those small steps because those steps lead to being better and doing better.
Amen to
That's
that.
100%. That's how this whole thing has been laid out for me is one little win at a time, one step towards faith, one step towards recovery, followed by another and another. And we talk about being authentically awkward all the time. But once you know your worth, you found some worth and you lose that mask and you get uncomfortably comfortable with being who you are out in public, your real self, then you find the people that you truly want to spend. You'll attract the people that you want to be around. We've got our super weird little group of people that hang out with us because we're showing who we are. We're super weird people. And we found a whole tribe of super weird,
Normal is
awkward
boring.
people that want to be around us. And now we get together and we can just be ourselves and we have a blast. I don't have to pretend at all around my people. And that is a huge blessing because I spent so much of my time trying to be somebody that I wasn't. I do not have to do that today. I don't have to pretend. I can be exactly who I am, and I'm proud of who I am today.
Yeah.
And I've never been proud of myself until I got on this journey, and I feel like one day, 1 week, 1 month, that's something to be proud of, and these days keep adding up and I keep learning. And the moment I stop learning, I'm probably not doing this right. I'm going to start going backwards.
Mm-hmm. And those steps, which she mentioned how she's proud of her small steps, I think it's important too to remember not to compare yourself to other people's progress, because what might be a small step for me or you might be a huge step for somebody else. And that's a win. Those small steps, I mean, you get there one small step at a time. I mean, pretty soon you turn around and you're like, what the heck happened to my life? I still struggle with that today. Like, I look at my career, I look at the house we live in, I'm like, it feels like imposter syndrome a lot of times. Like I'm living somebody else's life, and you have to look back and we get there one small step at a time. Those steps are what make this journey what it is.
One thing I wanted to throw in the word gratitude on this, and I know it's a huge part of this for me, man. Gratitude for me leads to consistency. Consistency leads to perception, and perception really leads to, my self-worth. And I don't know, man, I can't say enough about what gratitude can do for a daily mindset, man. It's insane. I just wanted to throw that word in there before we cut off.
Yeah, and then
man. At the end, we just bounce back and forth. Like, it's huge. Gratitude is a cornerstone of happiness, because if I'm not grateful for what I have, it doesn't matter what I have, my sobriety, my home, my family. If I'm not grateful for any of those things, I'm not going to act grateful, and I'm going to be miserable.
It's never going to be enough. If you're not grateful, you're continually like, once you pass, like, oh, hey, we got a new house, but now I want the next bigger house. Like,
I would never do that.
Well, listen, it's normal in some sense, but really for me, taking a step back and looking 6 years, 5 years, 7 years ago, like the difference in it. I mean, you're amazed. At least I am. I don't know.
Perception is everything. If I'm looking at my life and I feel like I'm blessed, I'm going to act like a person that's blessed, and I'm going to walk around like that. If I'm focusing on a resentment, or if I'm focusing on the one negative in my life that's full of positives, I'm going to act that way too.
The one thing about like social media and stuff like that, we can look at all the good stuff, and we can all see the fantasy, the fairy tale, and all that stuff, and then the comparisons. And I'm guilty of it like crazy, but that will take us out of the gratitude, and we're not looking at anything that we have. We're not looking at any of the progress and nothing. Like and like it you can get wound up in it real quick, with the comparison to other people, keeping up with the Joneses. You know what I mean? Like the bigger house, the nicer car, like looking at like what you have, the toys and all this stuff. It all looks great, but in reality, it's just sometimes it's not even for you, and you still want it. You know what I mean? Just because they got it, But that comparison stuff takes you out of gratitude real easy.
Yeah.
Hey, my barbers, these guys, it's these three brothers, and since I've been going there off and on since I moved here, which was the beginning of my recovery. I walked there to get my hair cut. Then I got a bicycle, and I would bike there. And I was so proud of my bike. Like that was a big deal, because, you can only get like 2 things done in Pasco County on foot, because everything's spread out. So then you get a bike, and I can do like 3 things. I'm covering more ground. But every once in a while, they'll be like, hey, man, you remember when you used to walk here? Or, hey, you remember when you got your car? Remember when you got your job? Now you're driving this. It's like, I miss that sometimes, all the things that have happened. And they'll tell me, they're like, bro, do you remember? And I'm like,
well, and
I need to be told that sometimes.
Pausing and looking at that, like really pausing, practicing the pause and stopping and taking a step back and looking at it.
Yeah, I remember getting a pair of shoes when I got out of rehab, actually, you probably remember
I
too.
do.
I got this pair of Chucks. I hadn't owned
The
my own
maroon ones.
shoes in a long time. I had what the rehab gave me, you know, when I would get in, because I had nothing. And I wore a hole in those shoes in like, I don't know, 6 months walking. But I thought that was normal. I was like, oh man, shoes just wear out quick. Well, I got a bike after that, and I got another pair of Chucks. And I've still got those, and the bottoms are still good. And I look back and I went, holy crap, man, I was really walking a lot. I was walking to the detox to bring a meeting in. I was walking to the meeting house over there, and I was putting 10, 15 miles a day on my feet. And just grateful, you know? I mean, it was all new, and it was all just amazing. And I walked by 4 bars every single day to get to this meeting, and it took me 2 months to even notice that I had passed a bar. Like, if that's not incredible, I don't know what is. I looked over one day, I was like, I cannot believe in 2 months I never got the notion to stop in there and just see what was going on, because that's what I would have always done in the past. But, you know, I was just carried along, and it was incredible. So I guess we have reached the
9 o'clock hour.
the top of the hour. Has anybody got any last comments?
I just want to say one thing about the so this week's Addiction to Success. Usually we do it on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. But this week we are doing it Thursday at 8 p.m. to fit our speakers schedule. And so this Thursday, 8 p.m., we're going to have the Addiction to Success. We're going to have Brianna sharing her story. So I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you, Mike, for coming on, man. You should frequent these parts more often,
Yes.
man.
I agree.
Always my pleasure, man. I love you guys.
Yeah, when you're not practicing really awesome gratitude in Puerto Rico and exotic locations, please stop in and see us, man. It's awesome.
Hey, we're virtual. He can stop in from Puerto Rico.
Okay.
So 99% of the time I'll be here.
Yeah,
exactly. Just stay.
Yes.
But yeah,
Love you guys.
so much. I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thank you for your comments. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support, and look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Bye,
Love you
guys.
guys. Love you guys.
Love
Love you guys.
you.